Okay, the meeting is at order. Would the secretary please read the meeting notice?
The Board of Directors of the School District of the City of Erie, Pennsylvania, and the Board of Directors of the City of Erie Regional Career and Technical School will meet in regular session on Wednesday, August 13th, 2014, in the auditorium at East High School, 1001 Atkins Street, at 6 o'clock p.m., by request of the President, John C. Harkins.
Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
Here.
Ms. Shenley?
Here.
Mr. Spagel?
Here.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Here.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Here.
Mr. Cassillo?
Here.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Here.
Mrs. McNair?
Here.
Mr. Harkins?
Here. Before the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to mention the following for consideration during the moment of silence which follows. Since we met last, James Guerin, a retired fireman, passed away on May 4th of this year. Marion Pastore McGee, a retired secretary, passed away on June 29th. Joanne Savillo, teacher at Deal School, passed away on July 1st. Ken Curry, retired teacher, passed away on July 19th. James Checo, a retired music teacher, passed away on July 20th. Margaret Fletcher, a bus driver, passed away on July 21st. Prem Thapa, an East High School student, passed away on July 24th, 2014. Vincent DeFazio, retired supervisor of grounds, passed away on July 31st. And Elizabeth Weber, retired secretary, passed away on August 1st. This list is getting longer all the time, but we acknowledge the contribution these people made. We note with sadness that they've passed away, but we try to remember the dedication that each of them brought to their work with us and carry on in the spirit that they brought to what they did. So we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr.
And keep
Chairman,
those. Yes.
Second. On a happier note, Ann Teresa Stedman turned 90, so happy birthday, Ann Teresa. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, we'll stand for the pledge and then have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We had two executive sessions. Tonight's lasted from 5:04 p.m. to 5:46 p.m., just prior to this meeting in the East High Library. We had a meeting, an executive session at the Barker Center at 21st and Sassafras on August 6th from 7:04 p.m. to 8:45 p.m., and it sure seemed longer. Our next order of business is the hearing of citizens, and two citizens have written in for 5 minutes of speaking time, first of which is Mr. William McDonald of Erie, speaking to the topic of Erie School District business. Mr. McDonald.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I have a few issues, and they're bothering me. You know, you laid off teachers and you closed schools. Now you want a raise. I don't feel that you deserve what you're getting. Those that's getting money, you tell me all of you are not getting money, just a few of you, but those that's getting the money. I don't understand it. We got that cash crunch. I don't know what kind of crunch it is, because there seem to be no jobs. Your GE's leaving here, but that don't seem to bother you all. You just want some money. You have no compassion for people, for one thing. And then you don't consider the children. Those children are something dear to us. I know mine's dear to me. They're grown and they're still dear to me. And I love those that's going to school now. I don't mind paying taxes, but I don't want my money going into your pockets for raises. Why do you have to have a raise? You're not earning what you're getting. You're not earning what you're getting. You done close schools. You done laid teachers off. You take that school up there on 26th Street. Some of those teachers are jumping ship up there because they don't know what you all going to do. You should give that young man all the help you can give him. But you don't have no compassion. All you're worried about is your own pockets. We're throwing when we pay them taxes, we're throwing our money away. You don't care nothing about them kids. You don't. And that's a shame. And you know what? I'm going to talk to God about y'all. I'm going to talk to him because he's the one to talk to. I'm going to ask him to deal with you all. I'm not going to say deal with your mind because your mind's done took leave of your head. You're not thinking right. You should have town hall meetings. Ask the peoples what they want. That's how come you get in trouble when you get in trouble. You think you know what we want. You don't know what you want. You know you want some more money. You want that $365 million. That's just some more money for you to spend. That's all, and it's wrong. It's wrong. We don't have no money. We have no money to give you all. You're overpaid now. You think about what I'm saying. You might say that old man's blowing hot air, but it's going to cross your mind one of these days that some of the things you do are wrong. And when you do something right, I want you to let me know about it. Because when you don't consider, you took an oath. You didn't take it to me, you took it to God. And believe me, he will deal with you for lying to him. If I had anything to do with it, I'd fire every one of you. Get me a new board. You've been in there too long. You know the ins and outs and the ups and downs. You know how to do things and get away with it. This place should be loaded. But the people's, I don't know, I'm hoping that they're not stupid, but they're acting stupid if they don't come down here and see which way the bouncing of the check is going. I want y'all to think about this. You don't need no raise. You don't need no raise. Our kids are not getting the education that they should be getting. Mr. Myers' school up there, they're doing pretty good. And because they're doing good, you should stand behind him and not be trying to hinder him. God will deal with you all in his time. I promise you that. If he don't, the Bible is a lie. And the Bible don't lie. All of you up there should be able to read. You should get your Bible and read it. Maybe you'll do better. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I don't come down here because I like looking at y'all.
Thank you,
If I don't
Mr.
never
McDonald.
see you, it's all right with me. But remember, you're up there for our kids.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Michael Anderson of Erie speaking to the Metro Indoor Summer League at Wayne School. Mr. Anderson? Mr. Anderson, are there any other citizens that wish to speak this evening? Come forward and go to the podium, please, and write your name and address.
Good evening, my name is Erica Muhammad. My address is 301 East 21st Street, Erie, PA, 16503. I'm here on behalf of my daughter, Tynetta. We've been fighting with Collegiate to get her in Collegiate since they started accepting applications for Collegiate. I'm very upset right now because my daughter has the grades, the academics, everything, the study habits, everything to get into collegiate. And when we first went there, they told us that I filled out the papers wrong, okay? They said that I didn't enter the correct test scores. And after I spoke with Mr. Vieira, I had a meeting with him and Mr., I forget his name, his assistant principal that just started. And Mr. Vieira did end up putting her on a waiting list because he went in and redid the numbers for me while we were there, me and my husband. And he told me that she was number 50 on the waiting list. So as time has progressed, she's now number 3 on the waiting list. And I'm still not satisfied because I strongly believe I'm an advocate for my daughter. I'm an advocate for all my children, except for when they do wrong. I believe strongly in my heart that she deserves to be at collegiate. All of her teachers have, even I just had a teacher just recently call Mr. Vieira concerning her because she said, I can't understand why she's not at collegiate. I'm gonna say it again, like I said. She has everything that it takes to be at collegiate. I'm a taxpaying citizen, I own my property. I don't think that it's fair that people can come from the county and come to collegiate where she lives she lives a couple of blocks away from collegiate where she can walk to school. And if it's bad enough, I will take her to school. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't think that it's fair to her, as a student who is dedicated to her studies, to have to not be able to go to the school of her choice, and for me to have to pay for her to go to a school. Yes, she got accepted to Vincent for the honors program. I don't want her there. She got accepted to East honors program. I don't want her here. She got accepted to Central. I don't want her there. We've been working all her life since she was in kindergarten to go to collegiate, and for them to tell me that she can't go to collegiate, to me, that's an insult and an embarrassment to me as a parent to say that my daughter cannot go to collegiate, and I'm very upset. And yeah, she's third on the waiting list, and I just spoke to Mr. Vieira last week, and there's nothing against Mr. Vieira, don't get me wrong, because I like Mr. Vieira, he's a very nice person. But my fight here is for my daughter. And I just cannot stand to sit by and watch her be upset every day to know that she can't, that they're saying that she's not good enough to go to collegiate. That's not true. And if you guys have any questions and want to talk to me about my daughter's academics or her schooling, she graduated from Luther Memorial. If you have any questions and want to talk to me about it, I don't want her going to these other schools.
Yes, ma'am, excuse me.
Yes.
The superintendent will look into it. Could you contact?
And I did call the school today, and they gave me Tammy. I can't think of her last name. I write
okay.
everything down, but I didn't speak to her, but I left a message with her.
Okay.
And I have tried to call I placed 2 calls to Dr. Badams, and I never got a chance to speak to him. I'm just very upset.
Well, it's understandable. He's had a busy week, but he just
And
said
I
if you'll
that.
call him tomorrow, he'll look into it. But would you please make sure you have your name and address written down so we have
Oh,
that?
okay, I thought you wanted me to say it, I'm sorry.
Well, both.
Okay.
We do both.
Okay, thank
But
you.
especially in this case, to make sure we don't miss you or don't get to
Okay,
communicate.
thank you.
Superintendent says he'll look into it tomorrow, or between now and tomorrow, and talk to you soon.
I really appreciate that,
Okay.
thank you.
Are there any other citizens that wish to speak this evening?
Good evening. Beverly Potts, 605 Elm Court, Erie citizen, taxpayer. I'm opposed to, number 1, raises, when you don't have the monies to put in action what needs to be put in action. I am currently on a committee formed to help get music and art back in the schools. I thought the big parade that we had for Erie last year for the centennial was appalling, when we had to bring in a few, maybe 1 or 2 bands from somewhere else and some drum and bugle corps, and no high school bands. I have to know I'm a band member was for 7 years at East High School. And I want you to know that there's nothing more important in a school than the spirit of a band and the spirit of the music. So when you talk about raises for people, I can't be in favor of that. The other thing that I can't be in favor, and I'm totally opposed, and it's only the beginning of what I will be into, is I'm opposed to the charter schools. Any charter schools. I don't pay, and I oppose paying for private education for students outside of the Erie public school system. Those children are outside of the public school system in my mind and in my heart, and I resent that I have to pay for that. And I will fight that. I will go to my congressman, I will go to my representatives. I will fight that. You people can believe that when I say I will fight that. I didn't need 3 minutes. I think that's all, but you'll see more of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Potts. Are there any other citizens that wish to speak this evening? Next item of business is report of committees and liaisons. Are there any from board members?
Mr. President.
Angela?
I just wanted to report about a kindergarten and pre-K registration event that we had on this past Saturday at Piper Burley. We registered over 30 students. We had a lot of families who attended, and it was a great turnout. I really appreciate all of the staff and volunteers that came out to get the registration event and to off the ground, and to get people aware that we do offer pre-K, full day pre-K in 7 of our schools. So I was just excited about, the event that we had on this past Saturday, and excited for the families that were able to sign their children up, and really appreciate all the things that occurred that day. And also just reporting on a conference that I attended, and was just excited about learning some of the new things that we can bring to our district to empower our staff and students. Looking forward to implementing some diversity training, as well as some training on increasing parental involvement. So that's pretty much my report as far as community outreach at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yeah, I'd like to make a report that nobody drowned at the Academic Sports League golf tournament today. We all went out 18 holes and came back alive. We had Mr. Dahlstrom there to make sure that if anybody needed CPR, it would be taken care of. On a serious note, I'd like to thank Michelle Schroeder, Gus Picardo, Mr. Mars, for all the things that they did to put this together. It's going to help the kids. This is money coming in so that we can give scholarships to our Collegiate Academy seniors as they walk out the door. And believe me, we have some of the best kids in the tri-state area. I had the pleasure of graduating this class this June, and I've been a lot of places, from the Air Force Academy to down here, and I was just as duly impressed with our kids from the Collegiate Academy as I have been with any of them any place. So all in all, soaking wet, probably have pneumonia tomorrow, but we had a good time. Thank you.
Any other reports? May we have a motion to accept and approve the reports of the committees?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassillo, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. In unfinished business, we have 4 items, and I'd ask the solicitor, these were tabled a month ago until this evening. Because they were previously moved, can we go right to them, or do we need a motion to remove them from the table?
They must be removed from the table.
Okay. Well, there are 4 of them, and the superintendent wants to withdraw the 4th of the 4, which is item 4.04 in the unfinished business. So if we could have a motion to remove them from the table, the other 3, and then we'd have to deal with them one by one because they are listed one by one. So they're automatically separated when we get to them. So is there anyone who would wish, I would invite anyone to make a motion to... Moved by Mr. Brzezinski, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Roll call on removal of those 3 items from the table.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. The first one we'll deal with is item 4.01. It's a salary change administration for the Director of Pupil Personnel Services. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Petrunger?
No.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
No.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
No.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. The next item is the 4.02, Title and Salary Change Administration, Director of Instructional and Informational Technology, Computer Center. Any discussion of this? No discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
No.
Ms. Shenley?
No.
Mr. Spiegel?
No.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
No.
Mr. Brzezinski?
No.
Mr. Cassillo?
No.
Mr. Fabrizi?
No.
Mrs. McNair?
No.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. The next item is Title and Salary Change Supervisor of Service Center Operations Service Center, item 4.03. Any discussion on this one? Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
No.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
No.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
No.
Mr. Brzezinski?
No.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
No.
Mrs. McNair?
No.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Item 4.04 has been pulled. Next item of business is the new business. May we have
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Just
Mr.
take 1 second. Ms. Potts, we heard from you, but you are not the only person that is trying to us for this. And I think you heard most of us agree with you as far as raises. Nothing against those folks. They're good, hard-working people, but so are you, and so are the taxpayers. That's why my vote was no down the line. Thank you.
Next item is new business. May we have an inclusive motion to approve and accept the new business, school district and career technical vocational new business?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassillo and seconded by Mr. Petrunger, with the understanding that item 5.16 has been removed from the printed agenda and is not part of that motion. Is that the understanding of the mover and the seconder also?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay. So any separations or, we don't do that anymore, huh?
No.
Okay. Any discussion on any of the items or anything dealing with the motion whatsoever? No discussion, roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. I'm not sure I stated it ahead of the motion, but I didn't say supplemental. Can that be understood, or do we need to? I mean, I said the school district new business and career vocational. This is sandwiched in between, and there's 2 items.
Yes, it's contained in the written resolution.
So we're okay?
You're fine.
Okay. Next item of business then is approval of minutes And we have that for the meeting of June 25th and as attached electronically to the agenda. May we have a motion to approve them? Moved by Mr. Petrunger, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries. Bills and payrolls, may we have a motion to approve them as presented for payment? Moved by Mr. Petrunger, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion on the bills and payroll? Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich? Yes. Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Next item is the report of the superintendent. Dr. Badams?
Thank you, Mr. Harkins. Before I get on with the meat of my report, I want to just address the concern about salary changes for our employees. And first off, I don't think there are very few people in this community who understand the depths of the district's financial challenges as much as I do. But the reality of the situation is we have a number of different classes and groups of employees within the school district, all of whom live in at least our region and our community, and like all of us are hoping to be able to survive, make ends meet, given the very challenging economic times we've been coming through. Our non-instructional groups, our administration, have all worked over the course of the past 5 years, since I've been back anyway, with 1% increases at most, freezes in many years, most of which were offered voluntarily, given the challenges the district has faced. All the while, the cost of living has increased an average of over 2% a year. In addition, what the public may not understand is that all of our employees, with the exception of our Teachers Association, have now signed on to pay more for their health insurance. So we have some employees who are making less than $20,000 a year who are now paying substantially more for their health insurance, have either voluntarily or involuntarily had their wages frozen over various points over the course of the last 5 years. This, to me, seems like the last budget year in which we will not raise taxes. I'll remind everyone, we did not raise taxes with this budget, that we were able to augment the wages of our employees at least a little. So that was the intent of my recommendation to this board, to adjust salaries. In the case of the few salary reclassifications or the title changes and the salary adjustments for the individuals that were voted on this evening, those are, again, really representative of the sort of change that has undertaken this district over the course of the past 5 years, in that, for example, in the past, we had 2 separate departments. I mean, entire departments with several employees, huge budgets, very, very complicated working conditions, rules and regulations, in child study, for example, and special education. The individual who's in charge of both of those areas is now doing the job that was previously done by 2 highly compensated individuals, doing all the same work with no additional staff. And that story is told over and over again, and that really is also indicative of some of the other adjustments that we attempted to make this year. And I won't apologize for recommending those salary adjustments. I believe those individuals are working hard. The salaries that they're paid are absolutely comparable to those in other districts of similar challenge and size to ours. And I simply wish we were in better financial straits. I wish that public urban school districts were funded appropriately. But we'll continue to do the best we can. I know I have dedicated staff who, again, are doing more with significantly less. And we'll continue that until such time as public education is funded adequately. So I thank the board for its consideration. I certainly understand and respect both your positions on this matter as well as those of our citizens who I'm sure have a hard time understanding how a district in the financial condition that we're in could be contemplating any sort of salary adjustments. But we do have a lot of people doing a lot of work, a lot more work, with a lot fewer resources. And this was my attempt to at least try to help them keep pace with the increased cost of living. That said, on a cheerful note, we start school on August 25th. I say cheerful for those of us who are parents of school-age children, cheerful for those of us who derive our professional satisfaction from teaching those children, maybe not so cheerful for the students themselves who would love to have a few more weeks of summer vacation. But all that's coming to an end, and we're really eagerly anticipating the start of school on August 25th. Our administrators and teachers have been training throughout the summer, and there's a real momentum, I feel. There's been a great deal of work that's gone on over the course of the past 4 or 5 years. First of all, overcoming the financial challenges that led to the elimination of over 300 positions, the closing of 3 schools, and the hundreds upon hundreds of teachers who were shuffled from building to building in the aftermath of all that change. Well, we've had a couple of years of stability now, and we're seeing growth in some of our academic areas that we'll be very loudly publicizing before too long once all the test scores are finalized. And we can continue to do all this work facing all the social challenges that you read about every single day. So I am absolutely excited to start the school year, and I'll reiterate what I've said all along. We can't do this alone, and so I'm asking that we all together focus on all those things that too often are used as excuses or imposed upon our children as limitations, that children that are living in poverty or living in a depressed urban area are incapable of outstanding achievement. That's a lie. It's a falsehood. It's an absolute. It's a matter of expectation that we need to change. Our students can and do perform as well as students anywhere in this Commonwealth and anywhere in this country. We've been reviewing data over the course of the past several weeks, and the number of students that we have that score in the advanced range on our state assessment is impressive. And those students are they're scoring in the top 10% of this Commonwealth regardless of their circumstances. But a lot of our kids come to school having to overcome challenges that we can only imagine. And that's where we need to really focus our efforts this year, and will. When we conducted the administrator in-service a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how no matter how great our curriculum work has been in aligning with the Pennsylvania core standards, or how effective we are as teachers or administrators, if our students don't come to school, all that work is for naught. If our students are traumatized to the point that they can't focus on their studies, they won't learn, no matter what the quality of the instruction is that we're providing. So we need to be able to address all those things that too often get dismissed as outside of our control. Our students are with us 180 days a year. They're with us usually more than 7 hours a day. Very often, the meals we provide in our schools are the only structured and nutritious meals that our students will see in a week. We need to shoulder that responsibility and take that challenge and not view it as something outside of our control or outside of our mission. Every student that we can make better prepared to learn and guide to higher levels of achievement is a student who will have goals and opportunities that will make them far more successful and will make our city a better place. If our youth have hope and they have aspirations and that they're given the tools to reach them, everything improves. Our quality of life in the city will improve, their place in the economy will improve, our neighborhoods will improve, violence will decrease. So I will not accept within our organization any notion that Many of the challenges that our families face are circumstances that are outside of our control and outside of our mission. We will focus intently on things like attendance, like student conduct this year, like we haven't in the past. We now have data systems that allow us to ensure that we will know in real time when our students are amassing absence that is in danger of preventing them from learning. We have people in the community who have stepped up and are willing to help us in that effort. And we'll make sure that that support is there for our students. We've focused a lot on instruction, we've focused a lot on curriculum, but again, I will reiterate, we need the entire community's help to make sure that our students are in our schools, attending, are prepared to learn, understand the value of education, and we can all do this together. So I'm imploring parents to pay careful attention to your children's schooling, to get children to school. Do anything you can. Contact us if you have problems getting your children to school. Attendance is a huge concern. When I scroll down through our data, I see students that in kindergarten and first grade miss as many as 60, 70 days of school. Over the course of a couple of years of that sort of erratic attendance, a student gets years behind, jeopardizing their future, jeopardizing their chances of graduation, increasing the likelihood that they'll become involved with drugs, with juvenile delinquency. We just simply can't accept that as a community. Look around, look at places like Detroit, Michigan, Buffalo, New York, Flint, Michigan, and you'll see examples of what happens when a community turns its back on its children. We need to stand together. We need to marshal all of our resources. We can't wait for Harrisburg to catch up. We need to make sure that all of our children come to school every day ready to learn, and that we're doing everything in our power to support them toward that. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this school year like no other in the past. I have this true sense of momentum carried from our performance last year through all of the work that's been done over the summer, and look forward to working with all of you to make sure that every single one of our children has everything they need to have a great, successful school year. So thanks.
Any questions or comments? May we have a motion to accept the report of the superintendent? Moved by Mr. Cassillo. Seconded by Mr. Brzezinski. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Next is the report of the secretary. May we have a motion to approve the report of the secretary for the month of May? Moved by Mr. Petrunger, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Before us, we have some bids for consideration for fall and winter athletic equipment. May we have a motion to approve what's before us for award this evening?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassillo,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Brzezinski. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Petrunger?
Yes.
Ms. Shenley?
Yes.
Mr. Spiegel?
Yes.
Mrs. Alexandrovich?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Cassillo?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrizi?
Yes.
Mrs. McNair?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes. Is there any other matter which any board member wishes to bring up? I would like to just personally make a remark personally. I said at the beginning that we lost a lot of good people, and it's increasing all the time, and certainly no one's life is more valuable than anyone else's, but I just had such a personal connection to Jimmy DeFazio, such an appreciation and affection and respect for him, and for over a half a century, he was just the face of the Erie Stadium and Ainsworth Field. As was said to his face and in his obituary, he was said to have known every blade of grass at the stadium by its first name. And he just was there prior to the installation of artificial turf, worrying, sleeping there at night sometimes, worrying about the snow and bringing in sand and having to deal with everybody's frustration when we'd have a rainy autumn. But anyway, the man was just a warm, happy, pleasant soul, and he just was so dedicated to what he did. And he was an example, as I said, as are these other people, and I just can't help but want to mention him and single him out for just personal acknowledgement just from me. And I'm sure nobody disagrees, because I don't think anybody that ever met the man could find fault with him. I just feel brave saying that, or feel confident saying that. Is
I'll
there any
second that, John. Definitely.
coaches, athletes over the span of 50 years, everybody knew him, and he was their friend, and the media people, and everybody, he was just one of those special people. Is there any other item which any other director wishes to bring up this evening?
Mr. President.
Mrs. McNair?
I just want to say that there are still pre-K slots available. If anyone has children that need pre-K or knows someone who needs pre-K, there's still room, and it's still an opportunity to register.
Thank you, Angela. Any other matters? If not, may we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cassillo, seconded by Mr. Spiegel. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.